What's up, y'all? Let me give y'all a quick drive time video. I was listening to the radio today and I happened to catch a phone call and a dialogue that took place between a host and a caller. Now, the caller happened to be black and he was calling in because unfortunately he was upset because, they were talking about COVID and the pandemic and the response to the pandemic, and he proceeded to talk about the amount of family members who he had lost to the pandemic, whether it was his mother, his father, his brother, and but during the phone call, I could hear the anger, and he said something to me that really made me sad because it was him giving his version, or I guess what he believes happened with COVID. And the one thing that he said, starting off, which is why him and the host kind of disagreed, is he said that in 2020, when COVID happened, that the reason why the pandemic got to be so bad is because we had a president who was in denial about the pandemic. And he said it is because we had a president who was in denial about the pandemic. That's why certain things didn't happen to keep the pandemic bottled up. Now, I understand his anger and frustration at COVID and at the pandemic, and I understood why he was angry. But the problem with that narrative, because I know that that's a narrative that he's heard from somewhere, whether it was from CNN, whether it was from some news talk show, some liberal talk show that he heard it from, somebody gave him that talking point. And the problem with it is that it was 100% incorrect. Because as the host would have, as he would have proceeded to talk to him and ask him, he started asking him some questions, such as, okay, if in 2020, President Donald Trump, like you said, was in denial of the pandemic, who was responsible then for getting up and running Operation Warp Speed? Who was it that did all of these executive orders to go through the process of going around normal FDA regulations, normal medical regulations to get a vaccine done in a record time, which has never happened before? He asked that question. And the funny thing about it is when he was confronted with that question, we know that the answer, if you're looking at facts, the answer is President Trump did do those things. He did put into play and into position Operation Warp Speed. He did put into play things that would be necessary in order to go around the hoops that you usually have to jump through to get a drug or a pharmaceutical drug approved by the FDA. He went through those things, and he did it as soon as possible. He started that process in 2020 in the wintertime. And so the reason why the vaccine was able to be brought up in such record time by December of 2020, and I'm not even a vaccine person, I don't call myself anti-vax, but I'm not getting a vaccine, but other people can. But he did all of these things. But the narrative that the guy said when he was confronted with truth, and I think that's what the host told him, he said, listen, I understand that you're mad, but when confronted with truth, what are you going to do? Because your narrative told you this, or what you've been listening to tells you this, and the facts and evidence that I'm presenting to you say otherwise. So what are you going to do? And the guy just went off. The guy just went crazy. He said when it came to Donald Trump, first he said Donald Trump tells 1,600 lies, and Donald Trump was clueless during the pandemic, and he didn't do anything to help the pandemic. Now, granted, he's calling Donald Trump a liar. And meanwhile, I just laid out factually why Donald Trump put out some things to get Operation Warp Speed on the ground. And he didn't want to acknowledge it And it's like, he's a symptom to me because the guy was black. You know, the guy was black. I don't know what it is, but, you know, you can always tell whenever somebody black is on the phone. I don't know what it is. But it was sad to me to hear that even when confronted with the truth, the lie was held on to. And it was held on to in a grip. And the resistance that came out as a result of him telling this man the truth, this man got so angry when he was confronted and pushed back with just simple truth. And the host told him, he said, listen, we speak the truth. If you can't, like we tell the truth here. It's not about, because, you know, the guy says all of the talking points of the liberal mainstream media, you know. Donald Trump don't got sense, and he doesn't have any sense, and he's this and that, and he's an awful president. He's a racist. He's a bigot. He's this. He's that. And he said, listen, you can say all these things all you want, but just because you say all these things doesn't make them true. But I think it goes back to show how much power the mainstream media has. Because the rule of propaganda it's been stated for years, is if you repeat a lie long enough, eventually you'll get people to believe that it's true. And I think it's sad when you tell people the truth, they can't even come to a place of understanding of why they're wrong. And so it's disheartening to hear things like this, but it's a reminder that people who are of the truth, people who love the truth, people who are truth lovers, people who say that they're Christians, people who say that they love Jesus Christ, it's important for the evangelical church to stand on truth, even if it continues to offend and divide and separate. Jesus said that truth, oftentimes, it will divide and separate. And when truth is spoken, it will set a father against a son, a father against a daughter, a father against a son, a mother against a daughter. Like, it'll divide. And I think the evangelical church has to answer the call of just speaking truth, because the reason why somebody like Joe Biden is allowed to be in office and nobody has the complaints about incompetency and certain things with Joe Biden is because a lie has been allowed to be published, run with, and nobody is speaking up for it. And so, of course, there's always a remnant of people who will, you know, speak truth, but I think it needs to become more mainstream. So with that being said, everybody, this is Justin Bozeman. This was a quick drive time. I just wanted to put this video out there and ask you, are you standing for the truth in spite of the narrative that might come as a result of repeated propaganda? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, I'm signing out.